I think we're not sure. Should be starting sometime soon here. I've been having internet issues, so I apologize if they continue doing this.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully there we go. All right. All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Mental Health is Wealth, the podcast where we explore the connection between your mind and your money. I'm your host, Doc Dillinger, here to give you the help to achieve mental wellness and financial freedom. In this episode, we will have an expert come in, talk about our psychedelic therapy process. Also, we're going to touch on a little bit about investing and self care always. And you're going to hear from our experts and see what they got to say. So, without further ado, we're going to bring her in. We have Melissa Scannell. She is a MALMHC LPC RMT, and I have no idea what those abbreviations are, so hopefully she'll let us know. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please let us know a little bit more about yourself and the background.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here and to be talking about this and spreading the message. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm licensed in 2 states. I'm licensed in Indiana and Colorado. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. And so that's kind of like my credentials. I have 20 years of experience with complex trauma and specifically working with personality disorders and keeping people out of the hospital. So again, like chronic mental health, and that's again kind of how I stumbled upon psychedelics and the psychedelic movement and the renaissance of the future of mental health.
Wow, wow, okay. So you have extensive training. What goes into the training of learning this information, and what's the background type of information? Like I did some college stuff in psychology. Is it somewhat similar?
So yeah, like my background. So I'm again like a licensed therapist. So I have like my master's in psychology, and I also have a specialty. I'm also intensively trained in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a specific type of therapy.
Okay.
And I was trained Adlerian, so I went to an all Adlerian school. It's like it's a theoretical orientation, and so from there, I also am trained in like different types of modalities, like included guided meditation, hypnosis, and EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So yeah, I have kind of again like a wide range of background because I worked with chronic mental health, people who had borderline personality disorder, bipolar, things. A lot of therapists don't necessarily want to treat because they require a lot of attention, and they're high risk clients. So again, like suicidal and self harming behaviors, things like that. Again, a lot of trauma,
Wow.
and so I have again a lot of background in trauma therapy.
Okay. Okay. Does that energy rub off to you a lot through your work, or do you find it easy to do your help and kind of go on with your personal life?
Um, I think you're invested in your clients. I'm invested in the people I work with. I care about the people I work with. And I think over the years, it's even more so. Like especially to like the psychedelic piece of working with clients in a different way. Where again, like how we're taught in school, some of the things that we do, like really again, like the certain boundaries that we keep are obviously safe and safeguard the client in certain ways. But the people I work with, again, like because I'm trained in dialectical behavioral therapy, we're on call a lot of the time. So like if someone's struggling and they're suicidal, they're calling us 24/7, or again within our limits and boundaries. And so again, like through some of my trainings, I've really allowed myself to safeguard myself in different ways, and have truly just worked on this relationship, developing a healthy relationship with the client and modeling that. And so that has really, again, like allowed me to to hold space for myself and what I need and what my family needs, but also again, be able to show up differently for my clients, you know, the people that I'm working with. So I think it's different too. I'm from a small town.
Amazing.
And,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
And we interact sometimes. Like, you know, I've had my kids have been, you know, like let's say in a sport with somebody who's like who I've seen, right? Like their parents, like the one in the coach, or you know, again, different like like at the grocery store or whatever. Like we run into people all of the time. And so again, it's truly this different type of like relationship and how we want to show up. And I don't want to ignore people, like, you know, and things like that. And so there is like this different level of just validation, right? Like the way of just validating somebody, like, you know, without saying much, right?
right. Wow. Okay. So I can almost imagine what that experience might be like, but it's a small knit, kind of a small town knit community where everybody knows everybody. So one person might have wind of something, but of course, with being licensed and things like that, there are a lot of things that you can't share and express. So seeing them out in public, you kind of have to just sort of, without saying, well, of course, treat them as regular people, which I mean is kind of, you know, in my head I would be tripping out like, oh my God, the stuff I know about you. But
So we all
but
have,
I guess that's a part of professionalism we all have to work at.
right. Yeah, absolutely. We all have things. And just because I'm a therapist and I have like a bunch of things behind my name doesn't mean I don't have life happen. Like life happens to me. I just might have more tools and resources to be able to, again, regain my footing. But like life happens, and life definitely happens to me. And every day I work at myself and and again, like you don't need to seek therapy out or healing out when things are going bad. Like you can seek it out when things are going well, right? Like as a way of constantly working on ourselves and growing and evolving, you know, and I will continue to evolve the rest of my life, you know, and I want that for myself, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, let's try to get into some information for the people here. Mental health as well. I am not a therapist or licensed or going through any type of professional therapy help of any sort. So my job is to just provide as much information as I can to help someone who might be looking for what we're presenting for them. So I'm going to rely on your help through a lot of this. Particularly, I'm going to touch on some definitions, and I'm probably going to mispronounce some of this stuff, starting with the first word. I'm gonna need. I wish I knew how to say this word, but I feel like I should know, but I definitely don't know. So I'm gonna give it my best try. Here we go. Psilocybin. I don't. I
Yeah.
know. I did. I
Yes.
know. You got it. Did
Is
I say that halfway correct?
yeah, you said it right. Psilocybin. So
Okay.
psilocybin is
Wow. Okay.
magic mushrooms, you know, or mushrooms, right? And so it's just the technical term for the active ingredient that allows you to have the experience, you know.
Oh, okay. So for the to translate into the other worlds for the flower users, that might be what they call the THC
Hmm.
plant in the other plants that
Yes. Yes.
some might partake in. Okay. Okay. All right. We learned something today. I love it. This is what we're here for. Learn something. All right. Let's see. The next one, MDMA.
Yeah.
It has something to do with PTSD. Assisted therapy has shown significant improvements in PTSD symptoms. Yeah, you have some information for the people for MDMA?
Yeah, so MDMA is like also recreational, known as like ecstasy, you know, or Molly, maybe things like that. But again, like in therapeutic terms, again, like we call it MDMA, and it's used for PTSD, children of alcoholics, eating disorders, people who really have a hard time with their sense of self, very self-loathing, don't have don't love themselves, right? And because this medicine is a heart opener. It immediately opens up your heart and allows you to access different thoughts and feelings that you have in a whole different way, a new perspective of loving yourself and having a relationship with yourself. And so
Oh,
it's again, it's used for really specific types of healing.
okay. Wow. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Alcohol. I don't know why they threw this in here. Okay, because it's part of that. Alcohol use disorder. Early trials suggest that MDA can reduce alcohol dependence and cravings. Okay, so for those who might be on addictions or battling alcoholism and things that. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
get it. All
nobody ever.
right. The next turn they have here. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, nobody ever comes in being like, usually they don't come in like, I want to stop my alcohol addiction. Usually they don't even, like maybe sometimes that's not even discussed how much they're using. But like through the course of
Mm,
somebody using psilocybin on their own and things like that, what happens is that eventually they stop drinking. It's something that just really just occurs, that they just don't
mm.
necessarily want to drink anymore. It's like an evolutionary process.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's something to study for sure. All right. Next term they have here ketamine. I don't know if I think I said that correct. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Treatment resistant depression. Ketamine has been found to provide rapid relief from severe depression, often within hours or days of administration. You work with ketamine, I'm sure.
I do. Ketamine is
Okay.
the pharmaceutical version of a psychedelic. It's classified as a psychedelic, but it's not. But that is what insurance currently is willing to pay for. And if you go in to a doctor and you have treatment-resistant depression, you can go ahead and again, like sometimes receive ketamine therapy. But that doesn't mean that you're getting therapy with the ketamine. That's like a huge thing going on right now. It's kind of like the opioid epidemic. Like we're not prepping clients for ketamine assisted therapy. Like we're not giving them any tools or resources or letting them know how to use the medicine. They're just going in for their infusion or they're going in for their nasal spray and they're alone in a room alone. And then basically 40 minutes later, someone's taking their blood pressure. 40 minutes after that, they're done and then they get sent home. And there's no integration, there's no therapy, there's no prep work involved. And so really people are just
Mm,
cycling through a lot of their own thoughts. And so not to say that it can't be effective, but there are so many other ways to make it more effective, especially again, like if you're paying that amount of money, like I would want it to be, you know, I would want to put in some of the extra time around it, to really, again, have better resources so you can get more from it.
mm. Like it needs to come with an instruction manual type. I can get that.
Yes, not
I
just
can
going to the
understand
doctor's
that.
office and receiving the medicine. Because like you're filling out things like called a PHQ-9, it's a depression scale. And so as you're filling out a depression scale, like, are you suicidal? Are you depressed? Are you this and that? Those are the things that you're thinking about prior to going into an experience. And so then what's on the top of your mind, right, is depression and anxiety and maybe
Hmm.
your suicidal thoughts. And then you're having this experience, like you're having a nasal spray or an infusion, and then you're going to what we call a K-hole. You just cycle through these negative thought patterns and no one's there to help pull you out. No one's there to guide you through it. And so you're just sitting in it. And so what happens with ketamine too is we only have like a 48-hour window of integration. So that means, again, like our neural pathways, they don't create new neural pathways. It basically sparks this new energy that's in our brain that we could have new paths created. But if nobody's there helping you and working with you, or you're not doing your own work, you don't know how to use the medicine, then really truly you're just going back into the same thought patterns, and those sometimes get even more ingrained, and so they can be a little bit too more challenging to work with at times once somebody reaches out and is like, hey, I've been doing
Mm,
this for 3 years, can you help me? And then it's like, okay, let's figure this out, let's talk about it
right.
you know yeah.
Wow. Oh wow. It gets deep. I can see how the process is very needed. Throughout the how hope when it comes to first seeking help to beginning to the process and post help also. Um, Let me see here. So for a person who is like you mentioned the part of ketamine that a person will be on might be taking ketamine and they get to a point to where they don't even know why, but they want to stop alcohol or stop their abuse of alcohol, stuff like that. So for to dumb it down for a person, if they're just seeking help in a way, and they may cross your path, how do you introduce the idea of psychedelic therapy to a person who's wondering how it might benefit them?
Yeah, so I come from, again, like a trauma background, and so not all the people I see are on a psychedelic path, right? Like they're coming to me because they've done traditional
Hmm.
therapy, traditional talk therapy, and maybe they're not feeling the benefit, or they're going through a spiritual awakening, a coming home to themselves and understanding that there's more than just like their daily things that they're going through. And they need help and guidance around, again, like, oh my God, I'm not my thoughts. I thought I was my thoughts for, 30 years, but now I realize I'm not. What do I do with that? What does this mean? And again, they're coming to have a greater understanding of higher consciousness. And so again, this is truly what it's about, is higher consciousness, and helping people understand this different vibrational level of like, I no longer diagnose people, like, because I don't want to give somebody a disorder. So like depression and anxiety, again, like in our culture is you have like a disorder that is a billable code, right? For insurance. We're not in a medical model, we're in an insurance model, right? And so um but
Yes.
that's, again, like telling somebody they have depression, then they tell their body that, well, I'm depressed, I can't do this, I'm depressed. Well, depression is a state of consciousness, it's a state of awareness. And when I'm depressed, I'm going to
Mhm.
collect everything from that vibrational level that, again, that validates the invalid. Everything, again, I like I'm seeing through a lens of trauma, and everything coming in is just depressed, right? Like if I tell you to notice all the blue cars, you're going to go and notice all the blue cars. And so your mind is telling you you're depressed, collect all the things that are validating that depressed state. And so again, like until we allow ourselves to, again, evolve and grow through that, those are things that are attached to our body, not just like our body, but our senses. And so we go into automatic default mode, which is fight, flight,
Right.
freeze, or fawn. And we will just run on like these patterns of behavior, these patterns of thoughts, these patterns of emotions, because that is what's been programmed into us for the most part, right? And so this is really about like an
Right.
unlearning of things, an unlearning of how our body has made all of these memories. And it's about, again, like us being back in charge. Like I don't want my body to be in charge, because my body was, again, like programmed in trauma, and so they're coming because what they've been doing isn't working, right? The thoughts that they're having no longer make sense, but they don't know how to get rid of them. They're evolving
Mhm.
past these things, but again, they're still stuck reliving past trauma, right? Like past experiences, and they're just reliving it out, and they don't know how to get through it, and that's usually when people seek me out.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So it kind of gets you out of the chasing your tail
Right.
mind thing. You
The
just
loop.
gets a loop, make a left out Albuquerque. I get it.
Right.
Okay. So we have some listed benefits and risk. We'll first talk about a couple of the benefits that I see here. Effective for mental health conditions, rapid results, unlike conventional therapies that take months or years, psychedelic assisted treatments may yield profound insights and improvements in just a few sessions. Long lasting effects. Many individuals report long lasting benefits from a single psychedelic experience and promotes introspection. Psychedelics can help individuals access deep seated emotions, memories, and insights, promoting self reflection and transformative healing experience. Does that sound true to you since you're an expert in this field?
Absolutely. So, again, like being a trauma therapist, I would see people 4 times a week, keeping them out of the hospital, right? Like because They were chronic, and they needed that support. And I went from seeing people 4 times a week to seeing people 5 to 8 times ever. Right. So like I had people I was seeing for years to a very different model. And again, not all of the people I see are on a psychedelic path, but like our insurance system, we are not resourcing people with tools and resources that make sense to them, because that is not what our system is about. Our system is about, right, like this continuation of the pills,
generating the income.
Therapy. I'm not the healer. I teach people how to be their own healer. You know you best, but you go to a doctor who's telling you about you, and that isn't what I do. Again, I give the power back to the person, and I help them listen to themselves, and they get it. And it makes sense to them. And then they don't need to come back to me, because again, I'm not their healer. They're their healer. And they, again, learn that, trust that, and then are so much more resourced in it, confident, are able to handle things when they feel dysregulated or when they feel triggered. They're able to handle it on themselves. They don't need me, because they have themselves. Right. And that's the ultimate goal is helping resource people and making them feel confident and safe and equipped to deal with whatever is coming their way, and
Wow.
this is what this is doing, again, like with or without psychedelics. The way that we set up this type of therapy, the way that we're, again, teaching people these skills, and it's magical. It's magical.
Wow. Not just leading a horse to water, you actually taught it how to drink. I
Yeah.
get it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So on the opposite side, we do have a couple of listed risks here. We have psychological distress. Some individuals may experience anxiety, paranoia, and distressing hallucinations during or after a session. Potential for misuse. The risk of misuse or recreational use can lead to negative psychological and physical effects, legal and regulatory issues, and need for professional supervision. Psychedelic therapy should be conducted in a controlled, supervised environment with trained professionals to ensure safety and effectiveness. Or would you agree with those listed as risk for?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's risks with anything, right? Like even with taking like the white pill that we're given. And oftentimes if we take a pill and we start to have a side effect, we're given another pill, right? And then another pill. And sometimes people end up on 16 pills. So there's always a risk with altering any sort of consciousness. The difference is when it's guided, like you have someone with you to sit with you through, again, some of the discomfort that happens, because not everyone's experience is like this magical, like unicorns and all of this stuff. That would be great. But sometimes people do have to experience things that are dysregulating. And again, they come out of it absolutely okay and better and understand like what the purpose was. But sometimes it is dysregulating because it's a release. It's a purging of stored emotions, stored thoughts, stored feelings, and you're releasing all of those, walking through them. But you're very, again, prepping people for this experience. You're not just giving someone a med and telling them to go home and do this by themselves. This is, again, like very intentional, very thought out, and you're working with the person hand in hand on all of these things, right? You're talking about like potentially, again, like experiences that might be discomforting and what that might be like, and you're prepping around those, so people don't have a bad experience. That's the whole goal is to, again, to teach people how to use the medicine so they can be using this at home and doing it themselves, like, again, they're the healer, and so you don't want people to have an adverse response. Like that is not at all the goal,
Absolutely. Oh man, I could appreciate that. Absolutely. So could you quickly kind of go through what the process might look like? You have touched on a lot of it, particularly, but just from kind of a beginning to when you get them to where you say they're at home doing their own work and they come to you, they say, okay, well, this therapy hasn't been working, or I want to try something that helps me do this. And how do you begin and get them to home and alone?
Yeah. So we start off with like, an assessment, right? Like we're gathering information, medical history, medications, past trauma, again, pertinent information, right, for an assessment. And then we're doing prep sessions. We're prepping for the experience. So we're setting specific intentions. We are targeting certain emotions and feelings that are discomforting. If we're letting things go, we're also bringing things in. So like, not only are we talking about things we want to release, but then it's like, if you're creating all of that space, what do you want to bring in? And so then we're talking about the things that we want, again, to welcome in.
Wow.
All of the positive things, right? And what are those? And what would that look like? And how would that feel in your body? For me, I do guided meditation. And so oftentimes I'm walking people through, whether it's breath work or guided meditation, in these things, right? Like, we're practicing all of these skills prior to any sort of medicine session, right? And so we're prepping. I do 90-minute sessions, so it's also a little different than managed care. I'm with people 90 minutes, and it really allows the time to flow, people to really, again, like, express themselves, for them to feel resourced. And then we go, then after several prep sessions, we set up a medicine session, which is very much about set and setting, right? Like, you got to have the right atmosphere, the right space. Got to be, again, like, clear-minded, and they have to be feeling comfortable and safe. And we have to safeguard too, like, what is their support system like? Do they have a support system? Because again, for some people, like, this isn't an option, and so we really, again, like, safeguard all of these things and make sure that this is an appropriate, choice for them. And again, we work with them, teaching them, again, how to use this medicine. And so the day of medicine, we're with them from the beginning to the end, from the time they start to when they finish. And then integration starts immediately after. And so usually I'm calling people within that 24-hour, right within that next day. I'm checking on them too, like on the evening, but then the next day, like, we're having a conversation. And then 2 days later, again, like, another conversation we're having. Usually it's like an hour-long phone call. If they live close to me, then we're doing it in person. And then integration is, again, like, thereafter, like, once a week, for however long somebody needs. I also offer, like, a free integration group every Tuesday from like 9 to 10:30 Central. I have free integration. I have people from all around the world come. We've been running for like over a year and a half. We're a very well-established group, and people from all walks of life. And so whether they're on a psychedelic path or not, this is truly about higher consciousness. So people are just really there talking about this higher conscious place. And then we do, again, like, the integration is integrating the experience. And so I write down everything that occurs the day of medicine. And so I'm writing down exactly what's said. If I say something, I'm writing it down. And at the end, I provide them with my documentation of everything. And so that is what we review in integration. And it will then key up as like a portal, what they experienced, what they remember. And then again, that's what we're talking about from this higher consciousness perspective, because they've done so much releasing. They're able to gain insight on their own behaviors, their own thoughts, their own belief system, and how those things have trapped them in different ways or not allowed them to grow or move out of them. And so they're truly, again, the ones doing all of the work. We're just what we call holding space for people. We're just safeguarding and holding space in a protective, loving, safe way.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. This is big work. I didn't know how amazing this was before I stepped into this world. Okay. I want to just know, this is definitely off my list of questions. You personally, how often would you say that you actually learn something from one of your patients on
Every
through
day.
sessions?
Every day I'm learning things about, right? Like, it's a constant work about ourselves. Like, we're all mirrors of each other. And so, so if I feel something that is uncomfortable for me or triggers me, that those are parts of my unhealed parts. They're opportunities for me to grow, opportunities for me to go inside, opportunities for me to learn, because they're just asking for healing. And so it's a constant growth, and it's this beautiful thing that that I wasn't offered in. And again, all of the trainings that I have had, they've been great and wonderful, and they've served a purpose. But truly, I'm a much better therapist now, in so many different
Oh,
ways,
wow.
you know.
Wow, I love it. I love that. I love that. And you were touching on so many points that I'm going to jump into with our physical session. I heard a lot of key words that you mentioned during the process there. So we're going to go into that for a second. So, but before we do that, talk to me a little bit about after the therapy. Like you say, you went from where you meet people so many times to where you only have to meet them 4 or 5 times, period.
Mhm.
How does it look to a person after they've worked with you and um move kind of either to another level or different therapies?
Yeah, so like they might like check in with me and let me know how they're doing, or if they have their own experience, they might message me like, "Oh my God, like this is something that happened. I want to share this with you." And then, we talk or we text or we call or whatever. But it's a very different. And so because they feel resourced, they feel safe, they feel in control, like they're leading their own, again, acknowledgement and healing, to this higher level of
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. And so it is very different. A lot of them again don't feel like the need. They don't, again, like I'm not their healer, they're their healer. And so they feel like they can really manage stuff on their own, where again, like when I worked in the old system, like people were coming to me for the resourcing, to feel good, to make sure that things were going okay. And so again, it's just such a different way, where they feel like, again, that they have everything that they need and are able to take care of um, emotions that come up, hard situations, difficult things, and then maybe again it's just a check-in or like a text to say, "Hey, thinking of you," or "I had a good experience, it reminded me of something." And it's, again, it evolves into something very different.
Wow. Wow, that's good to know. That's good to know. A continued relationship of all times. That's great. So, also part of mental health is wealth. We do discuss physical health and well-being. So these are some informational pieces that might tie into um, how a person might take care of their bodies during the psychedelic therapy processes. So I'll get your thoughts on these. Mind body practices, incorporating practices like meditation, breath work, and mindfulness can bridge the gap between physical sensations and mental states. I heard you mention that a few times through your work in the process of therapy. How important do you feel that is?
um Super important. Like, so we talk about like high blood pressure, right? Or like inflammation in our body, pain management, anxiety. Like the breath is something we always have on us. Everybody always has their breath on them all the time. And that controls so much if we're breathing in fast and heavy versus if we're breathing in slow, right? And so it does change the way that our whole body responds. And again, it's always on us. Mindfulness, we also know with all the studies, like people don't want to believe it, but like practicing mindfulness and meditation lowers our blood pressure, our cholesterol, like our stress levels, anxiety, all of those things, right? And so again,
Mhm.
like and you don't have to go to anybody to receive it. You can, again, just do these things yourself, but again,
Right.
our culture is just like so involved in all these other things that it's kind of like, oh, that's the woo woo stuff, but maybe the woo woo stuff is
Mm.
helpful. you know
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I studied not there's a martial arts part and there's just a breathing part of the power of chi. I did a lot with the breathing side of chi, and also you mentioned something else, hypnosis. I've done um, some work with self hypnosis and writing scripts to help improve. And they absolutely, actually, the reason why I tried hypnosis was because I could not hear my alarm in the morning. So I wrote scripts that when I heard my alarm, I will wake up immediately, alert, ready to go. And I promise you, it works. You can trick your mind into some powerful things if you do it the right way. It's tricky, but you can do it. Yeah. Next, they have nature's connection. Spending time in nature can be grounding and restorative. Activities like hiking, gardening, and simply being outdoors can help integrate the physical and emotional insights. I've heard that term before, grounding. Is that part of your process normally?
Absolutely. So there's a movie, it's called Earthing. And it's about, again, like just us taking our feet, our shoes off and putting our feet on the ground. Like we're an electrical circuit, we're energy, which is vibration, frequency, and polarity. And so just like the circuit that runs through your house, it's grounded into the ground, right? So if you think about like your outlet, it has the two little like things, prongs, and then one at the bottom, which is grounded to the earth, into the ground, right? And so in the 70s, they put rubber soles on the bottom of all of our feet, which has caused inflammation, back pain, things like that, because it cuts off our electrical circuit. We're the only animal that doesn't think we're an animal, right? Like we're humanized and colonized, but like truly, again, like we're animals. And so we need that electrical current. It's like static electricity. So again, if you're having trouble sleeping, you have inflammation, you have back pain, what they found is if you take your feet and just put it on the earth in the grass, immediately it changes your brain patterns within 5 seconds.
Yeah, because it feels icky. No, I'm just playing.
I know. I mean, kids, like they don't want to be out. They don't want to put their feet in the grass.
Right.
And again, if we think about it, like little kids, like what I don't know what kids. There's like 8 hours we have them go to school all day. But kids are supposed to be outside and they're supposed to be playing and putting their feet in the grass and touching the ground. It helps ground them, right? It helps take off this extra energy and usually calms them down, makes them feel better, slows their thoughts down, things like that.
Wow. Man, I'm gonna have to start charging people to tune into this show. They get too much information. This is amazing. That's wow. You never know these things. You never know. That's just crazy. All right, what they have next here? Creative expression. Okay, that's part from physical health. Creative expression, engaging in creative activities such as art, music, or dance can help process and express the emotions and insights from psychedelic experience. Is that part of your suggestions for any of your patients, or have you heard that from any of the work?
I have. And so absolutely. So when we're creative, we think with a different side of our brain. We access like a different part of our brain that again doesn't normally get access. And so whether this is music, a second language, drawing, painting, that sort of stuff, being crafty, again, it allows us a different access to our brain, which again, like as kids, we are so connected and we're able to be creative. And as we get older, it's really taught out of us. And so again, like this allows us to get back into those systems that are so healing and help us evolve. Hello.
Oopsie. All right, sorry about that. Thank you, professional.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
grounding.
man, my
You're just out
phone.
there grounding. It's all
These,
right.
these darn iPhones. I shouldn't have never switched.
Yeah.
You know what? You spoke it into existence. That's what happened.
Oh, there it took him away again. Yep, he's got the spinning wheel.
We
Oh
gotta
no.
let it.
There you
Alrighty.
go. There you
I
go.
think I'm back now. We're
Yeah.
gonna go cross our fingers with that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Well,
wanted
you
to
did
touch
mention this
base.
also. Support systems.
Yeah.
Building a supportive community or working with a therapist who understands a psychedelic integration can provide guidance and encouragement. So, and importance of support systems, in your opinion.
So, we healed in community ancestrally, right? Like, we've always been in community, and we're so far apart. We live in dwellings away from each other. There's so much hate in the world. We're so separated from each other, but truly we need each other to heal and to grow and to evolve. And so it is very important that we have a support system, whether that's friends or family, our children, if they're old enough, or we make a support system, right, with different community members of other people who are wanting higher consciousness or who are doing integration work or things like that. But it is very important to have other people as a support, because as we grow and evolve, sometimes the people around us, we realize like that's part of some of my trauma, that's part of some of my triggers. Those people no longer, again, I don't vibrate the same as them anymore. I don't have the things in common that we used to. Like, I'm growing out of them. And so there's a lot of talk before we even do, again, like before psychedelics even comes into play, of what is your environment like? How are they going to grow with you? What would that look like for them? And if people don't have a support system, then it's using this very cautiously, because again, like they might not have, you're going to wake people up in a way into this conscious space, and then they won't have any support around it. And we see that sometimes with ketamine, where, like people are going in and receiving more information, deeper understanding of like their own traumas, and then they're being, maybe they're at home with their abuser, right? And they're at home with someone who's abusing them, and it's like you're
Oh
getting
wow.
this insight, and then you're sending them home and they're getting abused. And so it's like that isn't helpful, right? And that's just going to, again, like create the system even deeper. And so we really want to focus on
Mm.
the healthy support system we're sending people back to, and if it's not there, then I've turned people away. Like I don't sit with everybody. This isn't for everybody in regards to the psychedelic work, but we can work in other ways, and I can help support you in other ways. And let's build up these systems, because again, we heal in community. We don't heal alone. We need people.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. You learn something every day, and you cannot do it alone. That's a common theme. There's a lot. There's few things that a person can do alone in this world. Few things. Um. So I think this might be a little bit more up your alley. I tried this exercise with cognitive behavior, and I struggle with it because I try to mix it up because I have different guests about different topics, so I can never kind of do it the same way every time. So we have anxiety today. Let me see here. Did I get to where's anxiety go? Oh, let me get that back. There we go. All right. So, um, let me see. How do I set this up? The emotion is anxiety. So, how do you? What's the thought process when Melissa experiences anxiety?
Yeah. So if I were to be like, maybe again, like something throughout the day makes me feel anxious, I know that it's my body's system telling me that there's probably a past experience that has made me uncomfortable in the past, right? Like, um, again, our body makes memories, like the my touch, my sight, words that I'm hearing, again, like are going to trigger a response. And so it's me going back within myself. What happened at this time last year? What happened at this time 5 years ago? Like, again, like, is there something triggering this moment? Because what in this moment is making me anxious? And if nothing in this moment is making me anxious, I know that it's a past version of myself that is coming up because it's unhealed. And then I can send myself one of two things: love or fear, right? There's only two emotions and everything falls under that. And there's really only one emotion. The only emotion is love, and fear is the absence of love. And so again, so I can send my past version of myself love and allow it to evolve and grow and heal, or I can send it fear, which will continue that feeling of anxiety, right? And so that's how I look at healing anxiety or getting through those things. It's my body's system saying, hey, like, you have some unfinished business, and please send me love.
Okay, I'm going to try to work there, exactly where you said sending love. I'm going to see if we can work into that. So, you brought up memories. Let's say you may high school memory. We all have high school memories,
Yeah.
good or bad. You know,
Mhm.
we have a high school. Let's say we have a high school memory. I'm going to just create a situation here. Your high school crush asked your best friend to prom.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Whew.
what's the initial thought? Where this is definitely going to be a fear moment. I'm
Right.
assuming.
Belief system. I'm not good enough. Belief, I'm not good enough. She's better than me. What's wrong with me? Right.
Mm,
So it's attached to a
okay.
belief system. And so as soon as I fall out of that alignment with myself, as soon as I'm not my own best friend, right, I go into fear that I'm not good enough, fear
Mhm,
that she's better, fear that whatever it is. And so again, I then have the choice to be my own best
okay.
friend. I'm doing the best I can with what I have. If I could do better, I would. This isn't about me. This is about them, or I can internalize it as my own. And if I take it on as my own, then I have to deal with it, right? I have to deal with all of that, whatever I'm taking in, the guilt, the shame, the, the feeling of inadequacy. I have to then deal with that. And I can't say that as an adolescent, I didn't, because I absolutely did into my
Right.
20s and 30s. And then I got to a point where, again, I realized I can go back to my high school self. I can go back to my 5, 6, 7-year-old self. And I can offer them in those situations, I can offer them love, like, and compassion. I can't go back and change it, right? I can't like go back and fix the past, but I can offer them a different feeling attached to it of love and compassion and empathy and sympathy and grace. And that releases me then from fear, which is attached to my
Okay.
automatic default mode, right? Which is attached to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Yeah.
You're taking me down this road, and I love it. Cause
Yeah.
okay, so we're there. Now we have these thoughts of inadequacy. I'm
Mm,
not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. What did she do to get this moment?
yeah.
Okay, what's your behavior behind this? How do you? We all have those experiences or seeing experiences of people acting out or um what do you just the opposition, what's your behavior behind the thought process of feeling inadequate?
Yeah. So I would probably go inward, right? Like be shameful or cycle down these thought patterns of, again, like I'm not good enough. And, like I got like the shooting all over myself or whatever, right? Like the shooting all over
Mm.
in not a good way, right? Shoulda, woulda,
Beating
coulda.
yourself up.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And so then I'm sitting in that, but that again, that all is under fear, right? Like all of those words, if I were to name them all off, again, like all stem from fear versus again, like being resourced in love, resourced in this ability to again forgive myself, love myself, accept myself for where I'm at, know that it isn't about me, that whatever they're experiencing has nothing to do with me. That's their path. And then again, it allows me to be free of that, of those thoughts, of those emotions, and of that experience ultimately.
Okay, so let's take it and develop that into So we have the feelings of inadequacies. We start to beat ourselves up. This is the cognitive part of the behavior. Um, how do you reframe that thought? What is the um, alternative or the fix in your mind to having these feelings and emotions?
Yeah. So I go, my like, fix is, again, what I say to myself is I'm doing the best I can in this moment with what I have. And if I could do better, I would. And maybe tomorrow I'll have more skills and more tools and resources, but today I don't. And so I'm doing the best I can with what I have. Right. And that isn't like shitting all over
Mhm.
myself in that way. It's showing up for where I'm at, that I don't have all the answers all of the time. I am triggered. I am human. I did grow up in trauma, just like everybody else. I am resourced in fear. That's what the highway that runs through me is fear. It isn't love. I didn't grow up in like just this love, love, love place. It would be nice. But so I understand those parts of me, and they do, right? They're my shadow pieces. We call them, again, like it's my shadow work. And they're coming up again, not because they become my best friend. They're there because they want healing. They want to be brought into the light. They want to be brought into the love ultimately. And so it's, again, a different way of looking at those parts and pieces of us that they're coming up asking for healing.
Okay.
Opportunities of
Do you
growth.
have any? Oh, yeah. Growth is good. Growth is good. So would Melissa have any particular actions after she's reframed her mind and she's reassured herself that she is adequate and she is doing everything to the best of her abilities? Does Melissa have any particular actions after knowing that her best friend is still going to prom with her crush?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the moment, yeah, it's obviously, again, it goes back to like, it's dysregulating. And then I ask myself, where do I want to create from ultimately? Right. Where do I have the choice? Where do I want to create from? And what feels right and what feels aligned? I will chase love and an open heart the rest of my life, because being there, you're in a flow state and everything feels right. And you don't have the thoughts and you don't have the chatter, and you're just flowing. And it's, again, it's the best drug I'll ever do, and I'll continue to do it, is being in that open heart and in love, in that love space. And so I would be honoring myself, and co-creating from that place of love. As an adolescent, I couldn't do that, but as an adult I can. you know
You
i've
know
grown
better now.
i've grown a lot, right? I've evolved.
That, yes, that word growth. You love it. I love it. I love it. That is amazing. I'm sorry I had to bring up. I hope no one had a traumatic experience with high school sweethearts. So I'm sorry if we had to go do that. But the good work is, now that you're aware of it, you can go do your shadow work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a willing participant in that. That's a little bit torturous session for me. I really freestyle through that every time. But next we are going to touch on just a few pieces of information on the benefits and the risk of investing in psychedelic. um I don't know if I'll say, yeah, this is actually the psychedelic therapy market. I would say this is the psychedelic therapy market. So this could touch on a few things within when it comes to the technologies, the and the supplies and products. So just some information on the psychedelic is expected to grow significantly in the coming years, with projections reaching billions of dollars. I'm thinking that's definitely going to involve those insurance companies you mentioned a
Hopefully
couple
not.
of times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know
Innovative treatment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if we can, yeah. We need an upgrade, right? Our system needs an upgrade. And that's part of our movement too, is like that we acknowledge
Mhm.
and understand that insurance is a for-profit company. They're in it to make money, not help us, not give us money, not allow us to have the services we want. Again, like it's a for-profit company, and a lot of people don't quite understand that. And so, yeah, we need an upgrade. We deserve an upgrade. and we are the voice, we are the people, and again, community. Like, there are power in numbers,
We're gonna have to start a whole new country for that. I don't believe America can get on that page. I'm just being honest.
you know, hopefully,
I'm
I guess,
just being honest.
right.
Yeah. With innovative treatments. Psychedelic therapy offers promising treatments for mental health conditions like depression, PTSD, and addictions, with currently underserved by conventional therapy. So I think that's saying that incorporating psychedelics into these treatments might broaden the whole forum for therapies as a whole. I think that's what that's aiming at. Yeah, I can see how that's a piece. More awareness, definitely, um, and that leads to more information. So, more information we have, the more ways they're gonna add in what you need to do. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Uh,
I think too, it allows people to get off medications. They're not reliant on like antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications or things like that. That's like just a natural way that they feel good enough to come off of those things. Obviously, like with doctors helping titrate down and stuff like that. I think again, like there's so many benefits to that. Also, again, like the decrease in alcohol use and abuse. Like alcohol is a suppressant. It keeps us in our bodies. It's oppressive, right? It keeps us stuck, where like psychedelics allow us to rise up. It's a very different type of expansion, right? Even like cannabis is a mild psychedelic. And so again, it's not necessarily keeping you stuck in your body. It allows you to have greater access to consciousness, if you allow it. And if it's used right, like for medicinal purposes. But we love in America to like abuse a lot of things and like use it all the time for everything, versus again, like medicinally, using it for specific intentions.
I only abuse marijuana because they won't let me get it medicinally. If
Yeah.
I
I mean, cannabis has so many good things, in regards to how helpful it could be. I think again, like, but we also don't educate on how to use it in a way too that's intentional.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of people in the local area that I have got some information from when it comes to the cannabis world, CBDs and THCAs and things of that. They're trying to do some good work. I can appreciate them. Let's see here. What's the last? Increasing acceptance. This is the last benefit for investing in psychedelic therapy. Increasing acceptance and interest in psychedelic therapy, both from the medical community and the general public. So yeah, that's, I guess, the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets. We have a couple of risks here. Regulatory challenges. The legal and regulatory landscape for psychedelics is evolving, and there are uncertainties regarding approval and market access. Do you deal with that in your everyday thing with I'm sure insurance companies have a lot to say about some things, but more or
Yeah.
less the legal side of it, do you have any dealings
So
with
like
that?
being licensed in Colorado is going through like their regulatory system right now. So in January, they'll come out with their new regulations for facilitators. And there is a lot of things that they said in the beginning that we're going to allow happen, and now they're really changing it up. And it all comes down to, like, unfortunately, like profits and money, and then it makes it harder, to give access, right, on to everybody. Because like, again, like if we're making people buy licenses that are very expensive, then all of the trainings become, then all of the therapy becomes expensive. And so it's unfortunate right now. I think that Illinois is in the process too. They're waiting to see what Colorado does. And so kind of, again, like been involved in just like some of the preliminary stuff in Illinois. And again, I think that it's going to continue to evolve over time. Right now, we're, just allowing this process to even happen is awesome. And so we're excited about it, but we're also too, we don't, we want everyone to have access. That's a huge thing, is making sure that this is accessible to especially the people who need it the most, which are not the millionaires, right? Like, which are not, that isn't the population that needs the healing the most, right? Like, is marginalized communities, and that's absolutely, again, like, the passion and things like that, not just for me, but other collective people that I work with. That's our passion. And so, so it's again, like us trying to, like, stand our ground, and again, make sure that this is accessible to really the people who are, going through it every day,
Wow. Colorado is leading a lot in the world. They were the first to legalize the marijuana. And if they have anything to say, I know everybody have access, because man, I was in Denver last summer, and whew, you got access. It's easily accessible in Denver, Colorado, and the surrounding cities. I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Market volatility. As a relatively new and speculative industry, psychedelic stocks can be volatile and subject to market fluctuations. Of course, that's always going to be something when it comes to stocks. Clinical trials outcomes. The success of psychedelic companies depends on the outcomes of clinical trials, which can be uncertain and time consuming. Oh man, I bet you they got a long line for people lining up to do clinical trials for psychedelics. I bet you they don't have no problem finding volunteers for that. But
No, they
um,
definitely don't. But again, it excludes a lot of people. I've had people come to me who've been excluded from certain studies because of the diagnosis they have or the medication that they're on. And again, like,
mm,
and
mm,
so that makes it difficult too, because again, they just want the healing also, and so,
yeah,
I think, right, it would be nice to, like, be a little bit farther along with, like, the clinical trials and the studies and the research coming out, yeah.
yeah. I know. I've heard that they can't. I mean, that they can take quite some time, as like years, with even slight changes to the clinical trials, coming from the mind frame of adults and kids and elderlies. They have, all different dosage involved with addressing the same type of issues. So yeah, I can hope they get that figured out pretty quick. We did get some stock tips from the psychedelic stock market. We have Atia Life Sciences developing multiple drugs based on psychedelic substances. Compass Pathways focused on psilocybin therapy. I think I said that right again. Good job, Justin.
Mhm.
Particularly Cybin, working on several clinical stages and therapies. Mind medicine, developing programs using LSD and other psychedelics. But of course, as always, when we mention these stocks on mental health as wealth, investing in psychedelic therapy companies can offer high rewards, but also come with significant risks. It is important to do thorough research and consider consulting with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions, of course. So, but if you got any ideas of investing, you can get your roundups going. You got a couple listed on the NASDAQ for you there. But
Yeah.
thank you, Melissa, for joining us today. Before we get out of here, could you share for anybody that might be looking for your line of work with psychedelic therapies, where they could begin the process of finding help, or maybe even find you if they could?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I'm listed on Psychology Today. It's a way of, again, like, finding different therapists, things like that. You can type in the things you're looking for, and, like, people will pop up in your area in regards to, like, state by state. There's also Third Wave. It's a psychedelic facilitators, kind of like a Psychology Today, but of different people who are offering different types of facilitation with different types of medicine in different states. And then Psychedelic Support is another one that, again, that lists different facilitators. if anyone was interested in reaching out to me, my email is psychedelicgenie at gmail.com. And again, you can find me on Psychology Today or any of these other places. I do offer free integration, again, for anyone who'd be interested, on Tuesdays, every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Via Zoom. And you can send me an email and I can go ahead and send you the Zoom link. And again, it's just a place to talk about higher consciousness and be in a collective of others, a community that shares the same thought process, concepts, healing, and again, just wants to have extra support.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I can't give you the words for the appreciation for the information and the experiences that you shared today. I know anybody who is watching, looking for information, found a ton of helpful info. And definitely, if you're looking for more, Melissa is a great asset. I don't know her personally, but I can tell from the way she talks, she knows what she's talking about. So again, thank you so very much for joining us today. I hope we find ways to work together soon in the future. I'm going to definitely share your links and your information for your emails on the reviews. I mean, on the replays of the live tonight. But for everybody watching, thank you for listening and watching Mental Health is Wealth. This is the podcast again where we explore the connection between mental well-being and financial success. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and learned something new. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, please feel free to email us or email Melissa. She's the expert. Always leave a review. We love to hear from you and we appreciate your support. And remember, you are not alone in your journey, and your mental health is your greatest asset. Until next time, stay healthy, stay wealthy, stay tuned. We'll see you out. Love it.
Awesome.